All right, listen up. Mando whole body deodorant is a game changer. I had a friend recommend this to me. I have not gone back since. Mando works on your whole body. Pits, packages, feet, you name it. It's dermatologist tested, gentle, and clinically proven to control odor for up to 72 hours. That's 3 days of smelling fresh. Mando's Deo Stick is aluminum-free, dye-free, and doctor-developed. It is perfect for long-lasting, irritation-free protection. Need something on the go? Grab Mando's deodorant wipes. 24-hour odor control without needing a shower. It's like a fresh start in the middle of your day. I got Mando products everywhere. I got them in my house. I got them in my shower. I got them in my car. I got them in my studio. You name it. If I go there, I bring Mando. Mando is tough enough for the strongest body odor, but gentle enough to put on all your sensitive spots. Plus, Mando is cruelty-free, vegan, and made right here in the USA. Are you ready to upgrade? Use my discount code to get my favorite whole body deodorant on the market. New customers can get $5 off a starter pack with the code Chael. That's over 40% off, including a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products, and free shipping. Use code Chael at shopmando.com or just click on the link below. Masvidal, Leon. Masvidal, Leon, where are you guys at? Because I'll tell you what, if this thing was a hot potato, it has changed over and over. If I was to walk this back to the night of a 3-piece Minnesota until present, whose side would you rather be on? Masvidal's. Of course on Masvidal's. Masvidal was the second biggest draw in the entire sport. Masvidal's draw ability was so powerful that 3-piece Minnesota was never in a million years going to get made. Now, a couple of reasons behind that, but that was a crime. That would be bad behavior. You would be rewarding bad behavior. That and that alone kept that from ever going anywhere. But for it to be a discussion was never in the way. To be a discussion for all anybody knows in terms of how rules and policies are done at the Ultimate Fighting Championship, you would have not known to start leaning in that direction and begging for that fight. 3-piece Minnesota, somebody put it on t-shirts. They sold all the t-shirts out. Was that us, in fact, at Bad Guy Inc.? Somebody did that and they sold out. I don't think it was. That should have been us. Selling all these t-shirts. And I'm sharing with you, where are you going to go, though? You got the sport's top biggest draw. At that time, it went Conor McGregor, Jorge Masvidal, anybody with the last name of Diaz. The problem, to remind you of that time, Leon held down a number 3 ranking. Leon was the number 3 ranked guy on earth at 170 pounds. And Jorge Masvidal was a guy, while getting his come up, still didn't officially have a home. In fact, more people than not, including decision makers at the UFC, would have assigned him to the 155-pound category. All right? This just wasn't a fight that we're going to get. But it was going to be a great clip. And it was going to be played after. And then you've got the legal side, which nobody does the legal side better than Masvidal. Like, I wouldn't know what his history is with an assault and battery. I can just guarantee you there is one. Because as soon as they turned the camera on, he instantly was outnumbered by hoodlums and was scared. I remember watching him do this, like, oh my goodness, this guy is very well trained. He was scared. He was outnumbered. It was way more him than me. I just wanted to protect him, so I didn't know. I figured they wanted to hurt him. Figured they wanted to rob him. He just did what he thought. I mean, it was one of these things to watch him work. It was this story that kept on giving, but we couldn't go too far with it because, after all, it was a crime. And we're not ever going to get them in there. And, by the way, Leon didn't seem all that upset. Nobody wants to be punched repeatedly, particularly at a time when they think that they're vulnerable and safe. Or so now you got a coworker. Now you're behind the scenes. Now you're both tired. Now you're right. There's always like this honor amongst thieves, and it put Leon into a very tough spot. But Jorge Masvidal's career went on and ended up being great, absent of Leon. And Leon's career went on, and I suppose you would call it perfect. Whatever a perfect career is, if you had the world championship and you're selling out arenas, I would say you've reached the pinnacle. Whether you want to call it perfect or not, can we call it the pinnacle? So everything worked out for these guys. Now, when Leon gets beat, there was never even room for discussion for what there always should be room to discuss. In fact, very first conversation you have, rematch. When Leon got beat, and we talk about what is next for, in this case, Belal Muhammad. The very first conversation, and it doesn't matter if you want to laugh at it or if you want to scratch it off the list, it still should be on the list, rematch against Leon for Belal. Once you cross that out, you come down. We never got there. Not only we never get there, we never circled back to it when we went to the Rakhmonov and find out that he got a bad ankle. When we finally heard from Kamaru Usman, who wanted to take on Rakhmonov as a way of getting to Muhammad. And then we let Kamaru know, like, no, hey, stud, we've seen you do enough. You don't need to prove yourself to any of us. You want to fight him? Let's get this done right now. Like, as all of this topic and all of these headlines are coming out, we still never come back to a rematch of Leon and Muhammad. And so you do end up in a somewhat precarious position of what do you do with Leon? And Masvidal had retired the sport. But not only did he retire with the sport, he did something else that kind of resembled the sport, and the decision did not go his way, and he had 1 and possibly 2 birthdays. The last time I checked on Masvidal, he was 39, but it's been enough time that I'll bet you if I was to look, he's 40. All these things are relevant, because these two all of a sudden have surfaced their head against each other, and all of a sudden it's making a lot more sense. Like, George Masvidal was so big at one time, you couldn't justify a counter seat against Leon. And Leon was so successful at one time to form that strap, you couldn't justify bringing in an opponent like Masvidal. Now, Masvidal has looked very thirsty as of late, and this is always a tough spot. You're fighting for money. The same reason you all get up and go to work. It's for the money, but there's something about it where you have to pretend it's not about the money. There's some kind of act in there, man, this is who I am and this is what I want to do. Like, that part is just needed. And if you get away from that act or you don't sell it well enough, then you go into a category called looking thirsty. But I don't care how thirsty a guy is or what he looks like in that regard. If he's calling out guys like Leon, that guy is a badass. And that is what George Masvidal is. And now that fight wouldn't make a lot of sense. That fight isn't taking it anywhere. It's not taking it to a title fight. It's not a title fight. For those reasons, the fight makes more sense. I mean, that's the whole reason we couldn't do it before, right? One was champion, but the other wasn't a top contender. Or before, one was a huge star and the other just wasn't there yet. Like all of the things that got in the way once upon a time, now here we are. And I don't predict for you that they're going to make that fight. In fact, quite the opposite. I don't predict for you anybody at the age of 40 is going to get signed to the Ultimate Fighting Championship, including if it's a re-signing, right? For a guy that's coming back. I think if a guy exhausts his contract, even on a winning streak, but along the way, past 40, thank you very much for your time. That's what I think, but there's not an actual rule that says otherwise. I mean, they claimed at one point they were bringing Nate Diaz back and going to put him against Vincent Luque. Nate Diaz is a massive draw in this sport, and I do mean massively, and he has showed an interest in wanting to come back. George Masvidal, while not in lawsuits, was one half of the other side of the deal that got stiffed, and he also would like to come back. Leon, very meaningful guy, doesn't quite know how to speak up for himself, but he is starting to enter that legends territory. And even if it's one night, and even if it's in a checkers move, in a game of chess where it's got to have return on investments, and it's got to have reasons, and this fight carries to something else. You're right, that is the way it's done, but how else do you explain Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler or Conor McGregor versus whoever that next opponent might be? You can't explain it any more than it's fun, it's got a history, and it's a fight I would like to see. So if we are discussing Leon and Masvidal, and we're trying to figure out why, and we're trying to justify it, and how exactly did we get here? Is it fun? Is it something I would like to see? I will just remind you, 3-piece and a soda. That should answer the question.